New at 6, the man convicted of a heinous murder more than 40 years ago will soon be eligible for parole. But the victim's family says that possibility is a miscarriage of justice that has victimized the family for decades. KPIX 5's John Ramos has the story.
In 1974, this small house on Portrero Hill was the scene of one of San Francisco's most gruesome murders. The killer was caught, tried, and sentenced to death. And now, 46 years later, the victim's family is still having to fight to maintain justice. 25-year-old Frank Carlson was with his wife Annette when an intruder broke in, tied Frank to a chair, and beat him to death with a hammer and a wooden cutting board.
In what is probably one of the most horrific crime scenes ever encountered by the police. After he was dead, he took my sister-in-law upstairs and raped her repeatedly for hours and hours.
Then, leaving Annette for dead, the killer set fire to the house and left. Miraculously, she survived, and this man, Angelo Pavaggio, was convicted and sentenced to death. But 2 years later, the court struck down California's death penalty, and all condemned prisoners at the time were given life with the possibility of parole. The victim's brother, Eric, says because of this, every 3 years or so, the family has had to appeal to the parole board to make sure Pavaggio stays in prison.
This experience shattered her beyond words. And the process makes her live it over and over and over again.
The system has trapped the family in a prison of their own, never able to get past that terrible night. But in 2008, voters approved the Crime Victims' Bill of Rights, or Marsy's Law, which gives parole boards the ability to defer parole hearings for inmates like Pavaggio, now in his 70s, for up to 15 years instead of the current 3.
We are asking that on behalf of Annette and the surviving family.
Pavaggio's next parole hearing will be on April 15th at the California Medical Facility in Vacaville, where he is imprisoned. Eric says the family will be there again, seeking to keep the killer behind bars and hoping the board will invoke Marsy's Law and greatly extend the time to his next hearing. Perhaps as a way to avoid Marsy's Law, Pavaggio has waived his last 3 parole hearings. But he cannot avoid the hearing in April, and the family is hoping that following that, his next chance for freedom won't come for a very long time. In San Francisco, John Ramos, KPIX 5.
The Carlson family says public support is important in cases like theirs, and they have set up a website for people who would like to help, and we've posted that link on KPIX.com.